What happened in the Pual when we had a second guttural root? Okay. Did we use barak as our... to bless, right? Now, the Pual, remember, if we want it to be regular, should look like that, right? Can you see this all right?
Yeah.
Should I zero in? Oop, wrong way. All right. This is the Pual. And of course, when we had the resh, which functions as a guttural, we couldn't double the middle root letter. Remember this? So what did we do? Well, remember, one of two things can happen here in the Pual. The more common and obvious thing is the so-called compensative lengthening, CL, right? Compensative lengthening, which means we're compensating for the lack of closing a syllable by an open syllable, and therefore a short vowel becomes a long vowel, and we lengthen. Now, if that's what happens to a verb in the Pual, guess what's going to happen in the Pual? If the verb were regular in the Pual, it should look like this, right? That's just doing the Pual thing to the Pual perfect. What's going to happen? We can't double the middle root letter, and since this is a verb that follows the pattern of compensative lengthening, we know that because it did in the Pual, and whatever it did in the Pual, it's going to do in the Pual. What's going to happen to this vowel? It's going to lengthen, right? What vowel family are we in? We're in the O or U family, and therefore it's going to lengthen to the long O vowel, which happens to be holum. Ooh, boo, bad holum. All right? The minute you see that holum, what do you think? You think cow participle, right? And you're right on target, except you're wrong. All right? So this is annoying. This is a place where it could get a little bit tricky. Okay? Of course, if you had this form, bo rakti, there's no way that you could confuse this with a cow participle, right? Because why in the world in the participle would you have a T ending? The minute you see a T ending, you see its perfect first singular common, I something, right? How would you translate this? That means this has to be a perfect, and the only explanation, see, now is where you got to run the rules backwards. What the world am I doing with an O vowel there? I don't know any conjugation. Kal, piel, pifiel, nifal, even pual doesn't have an O vowel there, right? But if the O vowel is the result of a short O vowel and a dagesh forte that should be there but isn't there, working backwards to what the form ought to be, now I can recognize a Pual form. See how you sort of have to go both ways here to figure them out. And if this is Pual, then barak means, what does barak mean? Well, in the Pual, barak means to bless, so in the Pual, barak means to be blessed, and therefore borakti means I was, past tense, perfect, was blessed. Get it? So the first guttural is going to throw you a curve here as well, okay? Now, second example, I think we used ba'ar. What does ba'ar mean? To burn, baby, burn. And in the Pual, what happened here? The Pual of be'er, of ba'ar, should be be'er with a dagesh in the middle root letter. Of course, we can't double a guttural, so what happens? Well, in this case, we had virtual doubling. You may or may not remember that, but here's a verb that shows virtual doubling. What does virtual doubling mean? It means you just pretend that this is doubled in a closed syllable, even though it's not. You just forget about the dagesh, and you let it go. So the actual verb form you see would be be'er. If that's what happens in the Pual, then that's what also happens in the Pual. In other words, the form to be burned should be bu'ar with dagesh. We can't put the dagesh in the guttural, Do we lengthen? Do we compensate? Do we do anything? No. We just leave it alone. If it does virtual doubling in the Pual, then it does virtual doubling in the Pual. And your final form is simply B-R. Okay? So the rule of thumb here is, with second gutturals, which are going to be a problem anywhere in the Pual, with second gutturals, whatever happens in the Pual is also what's going to happen in the Pual. Okay? This one's fairly easy to learn. Let me go on. We've just got a few minutes left, and I just want to introduce, because these are relatively easy, the third conjugation,